What's up, everyone? It's MB Lee here on the Beat Sessions, the place for all things music and where we do the listening for you. Thanks for coming with us along the journey and blowing up this channel. Our next goal is to get the community to 2,500 subscribers, and we can't do it without your support. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. We would love to hear from you. And without further ado, I'm sharing Ellie Goulding's fifth studio album, Higher Than Heaven, which released Friday, April 7th, 2023, following up from Brightest Blues, released in 2020. The album cover is pleasant and gives a serene and tranquil type of vibe to it, but I wouldn't call it very creative. But I do like it more compared to her previous album covers. When I first heard this album, I thought, wow, these are some fresh beats, something that could bring my spirits up, something that makes me want to dance, something that I don't have to think too hard to figure out, but just have a good time. For the majority of the album, this is exactly what Ellie Goulding was striving for, as it was her least personal album so far. I like her take where this album wasn't strictly personal, because I think sometimes when you let the reins of your creativity just flow or not be so attached to a structure, you can create some art which was there that you didn't know was there, as you've allowed yourself to get outside of yourself. I'm going over the deluxe version of the album, which is 16 songs and 52 minutes. The regular album would have ended at the song 11 How Long. Besides Ellie's hits and collabs with DJs, I've hardly heard any of her albums as a whole, but I really do like this album. And I wanted to mention how she stated, in the best possible way, this album wasn't taken from personal experiences, and it was such a relief and really refreshing to not be sitting in the studio going through all of the things that happened to me and affected me, she said. This record is an escape. It's designed to dance, to feel free, and to feel like anything is possible. The theme is becoming passionately in love, but it's a hyper form of love, almost like a drug-induced feeling. It feels almost artificial, and there's the potential for a crash. I do like how she's going against the grain for this one. We don't always need to know everyone's personal experiences, and granted, that's how we relate to one another, but sometimes we don't feel like relating. Sometimes we feel like being distracted, or we just want to have a fun night, or have some optimistic melodies stuck in our minds. After a few listens, this is exactly what this album did. The tracks on this album were designed to stay in your head, and I believe it does echo Ellie's style of the past, from what I can tell. I think the only thing that the album didn't do well was that sometimes it was so fully packed of energy and didn't leave any room to breathe. And also, a couple of the songs were similar sounding, which I'm not saying is a bad thing if you want or need these dance vibes for almost a full hour. The album's opener, Midnight Dreams, was a great choice, as it had a soft up tempo intro that transitioned into driving energy with synth and disco vibes, all with an 80s and 90s beat, which made it feel very smooth and not forced. Cure for Love opens with some shadowy and scarce piano melody, but then it changes over to an upbeat track with still having that deep piano. It has a lively and catchy chorus, but at the same time, it does remind me of one of Dua Lipa's songs. And if you know which song I'm talking about, I'll leave it to you to put it in the comments. By the end of the night is another great dance track, and it kind of reminds me of The Weeknd. I really liked the echoing vocals and the synth violin-like background tones. Somehow, this song goes faster than you think because it's so enjoyable and dreamy. Like a Savior also has some Weekend vibes with a dynamic tempo and robust scattered drum beats. I would say Ellie's voice is very immersed in the arrangement of 80s pop and synth influence, driven with irresistible chorus lines. Love Goes On is more withdrawn and not as energy driven as previous tracks, but I would say the tempo is still staying up with the others. The background instrumentation kind of makes you just sink and melt and keep listening to what Ellie has to say about this fast paced love song. Easy Lover featuring Big Sean. I didn't think the feature stood out much, and I think the song would have been better without the feature, to be quite honest, but it did have great synth melodies and animated electro rock instrumentation in it. Higher Than Heaven, I really liked Ellie's vocals in here, especially in the chorus where she features her higher range, which I feel we don't get to see too often. And the album switches back to what she's known best in the song, but it is a softer and slower electro pop song. Even though I know Ellie said this album isn't personal, I can see how people are going to relate to it anyway, especially with the lyrics this song contains. Let It Die is a shorter song and actually had some feelings behind the lyrics of perhaps maybe a toxic relationship. And this song reminded me of Michael Jackson and Weekend vibes once more. It seems like Ellie likes to open her songs with some type of dark melody before the track changes drastically and pulsates into a club banger. And hey, if it's not broken, why try to fix it? Waiting for It starts off with angel-esque and muffled or underwater vocals, changing into this R&B groove, mid-tempo funk, which was completely different from the album, and it reminded me of Kali Uchis vibes, and I'm not mad about that. Just For You was a song that perhaps had fit the similar sounding category from the previous songs earlier in the album, but like I said, the nature and frequency of the songs on this album is something hard to get mad about. It's all about having a good time and just being enraptured in the repetitive synth beats and vocals Ellie provides. How Long is an upbeat track with choppy beats and a vibrant and optimistic melody with expressive vocals that flow throughout the entire song. I'm not sure how Ellie gets away with so much lyrical repetition in this song, but somehow it just works. Maybe it's just an Ellie thing. Temptation is definitely one of my favorite tracks on the album. It just rolls and it's so smooth and it has that 80s workout song vibe with those, retro outfits, poofy hair, and leg warmers. The synth instrumentation has all the pizzazz you could dream of, and to be quite honest, this song reminds me of Madonna or Paula Abdul. Intuition brings it back to Ellie's previous style, but more of a mid-tempo pop driving the energy up in the chorus. And a lot of her lyrics may not be personal, but honestly, they are so vague and catchy, it's like you can relate to almost every song she wrote. Tastes Like You is more of a sad song, but still being optimistic about being separated. The detached synth bass had to be one of my most favorite parts of the song, and its little ooh reminded me of the song Dilemma from Nelly featuring Kelly Rowland. And if you know what I'm talking about, leave a comment below. Better Man is another track that separates itself from the rest of the album. If you know me, I like Middle Eastern influences, and that's what I heard in Ellie's vocals as well as some of the instrumentation, especially in the ending. I'm so happy she left this for one of her last tracks, as it was a nice surprise. All By Myself with Alok and Sigala is the last song on the deluxe album, and it features a sample of electronic music from Depeche Mode's iconic hit Enjoy the Silence, which I thought was really cool how they wrapped up this album with that intricate touch. I usually do not enjoy pop and club tracks like this, but it's literally brought me back to over a decade full of nostalgia, so I think I can make an exception for Ellie, and this is going to be a vinyl please for me. So that's it. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. Join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for our live show. And until then, see you later.